"You're a burden, old man." Those are the first words my son hurls at me that morning. Words that land harder than any shove, any disappointment, any quiet frustration he's shown over the last few years. His voice ricochets through the hallway, hitting the framed photos, the empty walls, the floor beneath my feet. It's the kind of voice someone uses when they want distance, when they want you to stop existing in their space. I stand still, 70 years old, white-skinned, clean-shaved. My hair neatly combed the way it's been for decades. And I feel my chest tighten in a way I don't let him see. He grabs my small bag one I packed quietly the night before without even knowing why, and tosses it to the floor like it's trash he's been meaning to haul out. I bend slowly to pick it up, not because I need what's inside, but because I refuse to let my hands shake while he watches. He walks past me with such force that a gust of air follows him, the scent of his cologne lingering bitterly behind. He doesn't look back. He hasn't looked back properly in months. The morning light creeping through the blinds doesn't soften anything. It only makes the dust float in the air, moving slowly, lazily, completely at odds with the tension choking the house. He mutters while pacing about bills, about responsibilities, about how he can't do this anymore. Every complaint rolls off his tongue like it's been rehearsed in his head for weeks. I try to say something, anything, but before my voice even fully rises, he snaps, "Enough. Just enough." So I stay quiet. Silence is the only thing he doesn't argue with anymore. The car ride feels endless, even though I know exactly how long it lasts. He drives fast, knuckles white on the steering wheel, tapping his fingers restlessly whenever the car slows at a light. He turns the radio on, then off, then on again, unable to commit to even the simplest noise. Every few moments, he exhales sharply through his nose, that frustrated breath that makes him seem younger and angrier than he really is. I sit with my hands folded on my lap, feeling every vibration of the road move through me. When he finally pulls into the nursing home driveway, I feel an ache settle deep in my chest, an ache older than my bones. The building stands tall, too clean, too still, too hollow. This isn't a place people come to live. It's a place they're placed. It's where the world drops you when it thinks you've done enough. He gets out quickly, slamming the car door hard enough that nearby birds scatter from a tree. He doesn't offer me a hand, doesn't wait for me to steady myself. He just walks, and I follow behind at the only pace my old legs can manage. He keeps a few steps ahead, making it look like we're strangers accidentally walking in the same direction, instead of father and son stepping into the last shared moment of their relationship. Inside, the chill of the air conditioner mixes with the scent of disinfectant. A nurse smiles at him warmly, assuming he's the kind of son who brings his father here with love and concern in his heart. He doesn't correct her. He just signs papers, nods, and hands over boxes like he's returning borrowed tools. Not leaving his father in a place meant for the forgotten, we walk down the hallway, where the lights flicker faintly every few seconds, reminding me of the old kitchen light back home that I always meant to fix. Funny how I used to worry about things like that. Funny how I used to believe home would always be home. When he stops at a room 217, I already know what's coming. He pushes the door open and gestures inside without a shred of hesitation. "This is it," he says. "You'll stay here now. They have everything you need." His voice is clipped, professional, as if he's talking to a stranger he'll never see again. I step inside and see a bed that looks too neatly made for anyone to actually sleep in. A dresser that smells faintly of wood polish. A window overlooking the parking lot with 2 cars and a wilting potted plant near the entrance. Everything about the room feels temporary and permanent at the same time. My son lingers for a moment, not out of sadness or guilt, but because he's waiting to make sure I won't argue. When I don't, he nods to himself, as if he's finally completed something unpleasant on his to-do list. Someone will check on you later, he says before turning toward the hallway. He doesn't hug me. He doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't even look back. The soft click of the door closing behind him is somehow louder than his shouting that morning. I sit on the edge of the bed, feeling the silence stretch across the room, thick and unforgiving. I listen to the hum of machines, the shuffle of nurses' shoes, the distant sound of someone coughing down the hall. That night, as I lie in bed staring at the ceiling tiles arranged like neat squares of quiet abandonment, I feel a mix of sadness and acceptance. Maybe this is how life goes. Maybe this is where I'm meant to finish. Maybe I am a burden, at least to the person who should have known better. But life doesn't end just because someone decides you're finished. Life has its own timing, its own twists, its own moments of breathtaking irony. And 1 week later, life twists in a way no one could have predicted. 1 week later, I win $53 million in the state lottery, a number so big it shakes the quiet walls of room 217, a number that will make my son regret every word he ever threw at me. 1 week after my son abandoned me in room 217, the morning begins like every other morning in this place. Too early, too quiet, too cold. The sun creeps through the blinds in thin, pale lines, cutting across the floor like strips of muted gold that never quite reach warmth. I'm sitting in the small chair near the window, one hand resting on my cane, the other wrapped around a paper cup of lukewarm tea the staff insists is soothing. The world outside looks the same as yesterday. 2 cars in the same parking spots. The same wilting potted plant leaning tiredly toward the sun. The same nurse stepping out to take her break at exactly the same time. But inside me, something feels different. A strange heaviness. A tug in my chest like the air is thicker than it should be. I think it's loneliness at first. Or maybe the ache of being 70 and having only a quiet room to call home. Then the knock comes. A soft, polite knock, nothing like my son's impatient pounding on doors whenever he wanted something. "Mr. Hall?" The nurse pushes the door open slightly. Her face is bright, almost too bright for this early hour. "You have mail." The word sounds foreign. No one sends me anything anymore. She steps in and hands me a thick envelope, white, official looking, with the bold blue state emblem stamped at the top left corner. My heart gives a strange, slow thump. I know that emblem. Anyone who's ever bought a lottery ticket knows it. For a moment, the room feels too small, too quiet. I stare at the envelope as if it might disappear. "You want me to open it for you?" The nurse asks, noticing the tremor in my hands. "No," I whisper, forcing my fingers to grip the edges. "I've got it." The seal tears slowly, agonizingly slowly, like the world itself is holding its breath with me. Inside there's a letter. Thick paper. Rich ink. Too formal to be anything ordinary. I unfold it, feeling my pulse thundering in my ears. "Dear Mr. Hall, we are pleased to inform you that you are the sole verified winner of the grand prize totaling $53 million. My eyes freeze. My breath catches. The world tilts, not in panic, but in disbelief so heavy it nearly knocks me back into my chair. $53 million. Me. The man who was dropped off here like a worn-out appliance. The man his own son called a burden. The nurse gasps loudly. She must have read the number over my shoulder. Her hand flies to her mouth, eyes wide, sparkling with genuine excitement. "Oh my God," she whispers. "Mr. Hall, this is real." Real. The word rings in my head like a church bell. I almost laugh, because life, in its strange, twisted humor, has given me the kind of miracle people spend their lives praying for. And it happened not a month after my own son tossed me away. Suddenly, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Not anger. Not revenge. Not even pride. Power. A slow, steady kind of power that rises in my chest like warmth on a winter morning. Would you like me to call someone? The nurse asks out. I think of my son. His face twisted in frustration. His fingers gripping my suitcase like it was trash. His voice sharp and cold. You're a burden, old man. A week ago, I might have called him immediately. I might have begged him to visit. I might have convinced myself that this money could mend what was broken. But now I just look at the nurse and smile faintly. No, I say softly. No one needs to be called right now. She nods respectfully, but I catch a flicker in her eyes, curiosity, admiration, maybe even protectiveness. In just a week, these nurses have treated me with more kindness than my son has shown me in years. Congratulations. Truly, she says before leaving the room. When the door clicks shut, I sit there in the quiet, staring at the letter for a long time. Hours, maybe. I read it over and over until every number, every sentence burns into my memory. I feel the weight of the moment settle around me. The air feels different. The room seems brighter. Even the lonely hum of the AC sounds less hollow. Later, I walk slowly, carefully down the hallway, my cane tapping lightly against the floor. People greet me the same way they always do, unaware that I'm walking with a fortune, balanced inside the pocket of my sweater. When I reach the small common room, I sit with the others' old faces worn by time, each carrying their own unspoken stories. Some are alone like me, some are forgotten by families who visit only on holidays. Some don't even remember who they're waiting for. I look at them, really look. And something inside me shifts. I could leave this place tomorrow. Buy a house. Hire private nurses. Live in comfort. Disappear from this lonely routine. But then I see old George in the corner, coughing as he tries to reach his inhaler. I see Martha, muttering to herself, waiting for a daughter who stopped coming 3 years ago. I see people who deserve more than 4 white walls and scheduled meals. People like me. People with stories, lives, hearts. Forgotten people. And for the first time in years, I don't feel forgotten at all. I feel chosen. I feel alive. And without even meaning to, a small smirk forms on my lips because sooner or later, news like this travels. And when it does, my son will come running. But the man he abandoned won't be the same man waiting for him. Not anymore. By mid-morning, the news begins to ripple in ways I could never have predicted. Word travels fast in a nursing home, and I already sense the tension before I see it. The staff who greeted me warmly now glance at me with wide eyes and barely concealed whispers. I sit quietly in my chair, 70 years old, white-skinned, clean-shaved, hair neatly combed, holding the envelope like a talisman of power and truth. I don't need to say a word. The weight of my presence alone makes the room shift. Then I hear it. The front doors slam. The shuffle of hurried footsteps. A voice loud, sharp, impatient, familiar. My dad. He shouts. My son storms into the common room like he owns it, his face pale, eyes wide, and hands trembling. He looks around, searching, panicked, until his gaze locks on me. And suddenly, all that arrogance, all that cruelty from last week, collapses into raw disbelief. He stops dead in his tracks. His mouth opens, closes, opens again. No words come out at first. His hands shake at his sides, then he clenches them into fists. He had assumed, like he always does, that life's outcomes were predictable, controllable, and that he could dictate how the world treated his father. But today, the world has other plans. Today, the universe has overturned his certainty. I stand slowly, cane in hand, taking my time as the moment stretches. The smirk forms almost unconsciously across my face, not in mockery, but in quiet satisfaction. I am calm, I am steady. I am untouchable in this moment. He finally finds his voice. You won. What? How? His words stumble over themselves, desperate, incoherent. Every syllable drips with panic and greed. The same greed that pushed him to lock me away like an unwanted object. I did, I say softly. Deliberately, letting the pause between words make the truth sink in fully. $53 million, officially, verifiable, real. He pales even further, and suddenly he is no longer the son who shouted, who kicked, who ignored. He is a man forced to confront that the person he deemed useless is now untouchably powerful. I don't understand. He stammers. How? How did you? Why didn't you? I shake my head slightly. I didn't need to explain anything to you. You locked me here, treated me like I was disposable. And for what? A few days of your convenience? His shoulders slump, but anger bubbles beneath the surface, raw and desperate. Dad, come on. Give me a cut. You have to. I raise a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Calm, controlled, unyielding. No, nothing for you. You made your choice. You treated me like a burden, and that's what you get to live with. The silence that follows is heavy, almost suffocating. The staff glances nervously between us, unsure whether to intervene. My son's face twists in disbelief, fury, and shame all at once. His hands shake uncontrollably now, a mix of frustration and fear. He opens his mouth, then closes it. Words fail him. I step closer, cane tapping softly on the floor, each strike deliberate, marking my presence, marking the truth he has ignored for years. I won't give you a single cent, not because I don't care about family, but because family doesn't treat me the way you treated me. My voice is quiet, but every word carries weight. It settles like bricks into his chest. Finally, he collapses into a chair, head in his hands, utterly defeated. He has been forced to see what patience, foresight, and quiet endurance can achieve. He has been forced to understand that money doesn't erase mistakes, but it does reveal truths. The truth is this: he cannot undo what he did. And I do not need to lower myself to his level to exact revenge. I lean on my cane. Standing over him, watching the transformation, the collapse of arrogance, the birth of understanding. He is broken, humbled, forced to reckon with his own cruelty, and all without me raising my voice. I could have yelled. I could have humiliated him. But I didn't need to. Reality itself did the work for me. As I turn to walk back to my room, envelope tucked safely in my pocket, the sunlight falls across the hallway, bright and decisive. My son doesn't move. He doesn't argue. He doesn't even look up. For the first time, he truly sees me not as a burden, not as an old man to be locked away, but as a person who endured, who survived, who now holds the power he once tried to dismiss. And in that moment, I realize something deep and lasting. Revenge doesn't always come in shouts or fists. Sometimes it comes quietly, slowly, inevitably. Sometimes life itself is the loudest answer. The hallway is quiet now. My son sits in the same chair he collapsed into, pale-faced, hands trembling, staring at nothing. I step into the soft morning light filtering through the blinds. Steady, 70 years old, white-skinned, clean-shaved, hair neatly combed. The envelope with $53 million is tucked safely into my pocket, heavy but not for its value, for what it represents. A week ago, he called me a burden, a man to be locked away. Now he is the one who carries the weight of his own choices. He doesn't speak immediately. His jaw clenches, fingers tremble, eyes dart between me and the envelope he knows I hold. Pride, arrogance, and anger crumble before disbelief and panic. He opens his mouth, trying to demand, to argue, to negotiate. Dad, I don't understand how. His words fail, falter, vanish into a stuttered mess. I stand, cane in hand, slowly, deliberately. Every movement measured, a calm counterpoint to the storm of panic building in him. I did what I had to do, I say softly, letting the words sink. I survived. You made your choice. And now you have to live with it. He swallows hard. His chest rises and falls, faster than it should. He wants to argue, to scream, to demand what he assumes is his due, but he can't. For the first time, he sees me not as a burden, not as an old man to dismiss, but as a person who endured, who survived, who quietly achieved something he could never have imagined. His face flushes red, then pales, then crumbles into exhaustion. He finally mutters, voice shaking, I didn't realize He trails off, hands covering his face. The arrogance and cruelty of last week evaporate. In their place sits fear, regret, and an understanding of the patience, foresight, and quiet endurance that carried me to this moment. I step closer, not threatening, not triumphal, but composed. I won't give you a single cent, I say, firm but calm. Not because I don't care, not because I don't love you, but because family doesn't treat its elders like they're disposable. You treated me like I was nothing, and that's the lesson you needed to learn. He slumps further, finally silent. I can see it in his eyes, humility, comprehension, shame, and awe all blending together. He finally understands, in the deepest, most permanent way possible, the consequences of his words, his anger, his neglect. The lesson isn't the money. It's the realization of what he threw away when he called me a burden. The envelope in my pocket feels heavier than ever, not because of wealth, but because it carries vindication and quiet triumph. Slowly, I turn and walk toward the window. Sunlight spills across the hallway, warm and golden, illuminating floating dust motes that shimmer in the air. I feel a strange peace, a calm satisfaction. He will not forget this day. He cannot forget. He finally looks up, his eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. I don't deserve this, he whispers. Not the money, not the windfall, but the patience, the endurance, the quiet strength he is just beginning to comprehend. I lean lightly on my cane, my shadow stretching across the polished floor. Perhaps not, I reply softly. But you do deserve to see the truth. Sometimes the lesson itself is the gift. We sit in silence for a long moment. The hallway hums with the faint beeping of machines and distant voices, but it feels muted, almost reverent. This is the culmination of years of endurance, of patience, of surviving in silence while being dismissed, ignored and locked away. Then I speak one last time, quietly, firmly, with a calm I have carried my whole life. Sometimes silence is louder than words. Sometimes patience is stronger than anger. And sometimes life has a way of showing people exactly what they need to see, exactly when they need to see it. He nods slowly, comprehension settling in, humility rooted in his chest. Not full forgiveness, but the first step toward it. Not relief, but the start of respect. The world is heavier now, fuller, realer. And for the first time in a long time, I feel seen. I feel alive. I feel victorious, not in anger, not in revenge, but in quiet endurance, in surviving, in being recognized finally for the man I always was. Winning is about being seen, being respected, and having patience and endurance reveal truths that anger never could.